Alright, so we're launching tomorrow, and you know what's going on the rest of the week. I don't have to explain myself. But, this reading is one of those things. I know if I don't do it now, I'll lose momentum. I have to do the Chronicles. I mean, I don't have to. I could bookshelf it, but it's pretty much completed. You have to complete the rest of the slides and just edit and post it. But right now, after going through Natureverse 4.7 live stream, for some reason I feel out of it. I feel like I'm just ready to read this off, and here we go. Alright. No more explanations. You know this is a coming of age. It could be symbolic. It could be predicting my future or predicting the repeated cyclical future of my favorite river returns. It could be. I don't know. I just know it does something in me eventually in this story. There's like one part in the middle. I mean, it is tragic. It's symbolic. It's love. It's living, really, even if with the nitty-gritty details. Okay, here we go. Alright, here is the Appendix A, Return of the King. Here follows a part of the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. I know I don't have to record this. I know there has to be some YouTube recordings, but maybe something will kick in gear if I read it aloud. Some part of my maturity. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Alright. Appendix A, Part 5. Here follows a part of the tale of Aragorn and Arwen. Eredor was the grandfather of the king. His son Arathorn sought in marriage Girain, the fair, daughter of Durahil, who was himself a descendant of Aranarth. To this marriage, Durahil was opposed, for Girain was young and had not reached the age at which the women of Dunedain were accustomed to marry. Moreover, he said, Arathorn is a stern man of full age. He will be chieftain sooner than men look for, yet my heart forebodes that he will be short-lived. But Ivorwen, his wife, who is also foresighted, answered, the more need of haste. The days are darkening before the storm. Great things are to come. If these two are to wed now, hope may be born for our people. But if they delay, it will not come while this age lasts. And it happened that when Arathorn and Girain were married, only 1 year, Eredor was taken by hill trolls in the cold fells north of Rivendell and was slain, and Arathorn became chieftain of the Dunedain. The next year, Girain bore him a son, and he was called Aragorn. But Aragorn was only 2 years old when Arathorn went riding against the orcs with the sons of Elrond, and was slain by an orc arrow that pierced his eye, and so he proved indeed short-lived for one of his race, being but 60 years old when he fell. Then Aragorn, being now the heir of Isildur, was taken with his mother to dwell in the house of Elrond, and Elrond took the place of his father and came to love him as a son of his own. But he was called Estil, that is, Hope, and his true name and lineage were kept secret at the bidding of Elrond, for the wise then knew that the enemy was seeking to discover the heir of Isildur, if any remained upon earth. But when Estil was only 20 years of age, it chanced him that he returned to Rivendell after great deeds in the company of the sons of Elrond. Elrond looked at him and was pleased, and for he saw he was fair and noble, and was early come to manhood, though he would yet become greater in body and in mind. That day, therefore, Elrond called him by his true name, and told him who he was, and whose son, and he delivered to him the heirlooms of his house. Here is the ring of Barahir, he said, the token of our kingship from afar, and here are the shards of Narsil. With these you may yet do great deeds, for I foretell that the span of your life shall be greater than the measure of men, unless evil befalls you, or you failed at the test. But the test will be long and hard. The scepter of Anumius I withhold, for you have yet to earn it. The next day at the hour of sunset, Aragorn walked alone in the woods, and his heart was high within him, and he sang, for he was full of hope, and the world was fair. And suddenly, even as he sang, he saw a maiden walking along greensward among the white stems of the birches, and he halted amazed, thinking he had strayed into a dream. or else he had received the gift of the elf minstrels, who can make the things of which they sing appear before their eyes of those that listen. For Aragorn had been singing a part of the Lay of Luthien, which tells of the meeting of Luthien and Beren in the forest of Neldurith. And behold, there Luthien walked before his eyes in Rivendell, clad in a mantle of silver and blue, fair as the twilight in Elvenhome. Her dark hair strayed in a sudden wind, and her brows were bound with gems like stars. For a moment Aragorn gazed in silence, but fearing that she would pass away and never be seen again, he called to her, crying, To reveal, even as Beren has done in the elder days long ago. Then the maiden turned to him and smiled, and she said, Who are you? And why do you call me by that name? He answered, Because I believe that you are indeed Luthien Tuviel, of whom I was singing. But if you are not she, then you walk in her likeness. So many have said, she answered. Yet her name is not mine, though maybe my doom will be not unlike hers. But who are you? Estil I was called, he said, but I am Aragorn, Arathorn's son, Isildur's heir, Lord of the Dunedain. Yet even in saying, he felt that his high lineage, in which his heart had rejoiced, was now of little worth, and as nothing compared to her dignity and loveliness. But she laughed merrily and said, There we are akin from afar, for I am Arwen, Elrond's daughter, and I am also named Udumil. Often it is seen, said Aragorn, that in dangerous days men hide their chief treasure. Yet I marvel at Elrond and your brothers, for though I have dwelt in his house from childhood, I have heard no word of you. How comes it that we have never met before? Surely your father has not kept you locked in his hoard? No, she said, and looked up the mountains that rose in the east. I have dwelt for a time in the land of my mother's kin, in far Lothlorien. I have but lately returned to visit my father again. It is many years since I have walked in Imladris. Then Aragorn wondered, for she had seemed of no greater age than he, who had lived yet no more than a score of years in Middle-earth. But Arwen looked in his eyes and said, Do not wonder, for the children of Elrond have the life of the Eldar. Then Aragorn was abashed, for he saw the elven light in her eyes and the wisdom of many days. Yet from that hour he loved Arwen Udumil, daughter of Elrond. Oh, yeah, this is a great one. Alright, take a small break and then let's continue. Alright, if I speed this up, it's only because this is like 6 pages or so, and I've only barely gotten past 2. Okay, let's go. Alright. In the days that followed, Aragorn fell silent, and his mother perceived that some strange thing had befallen him. And at last he yielded to her questions, and he told her of the meeting in the twilight of the trees. My son, said Gilrahan, your aim is high, even for the descendants of many kings. For this lady is the noblest and fairest that now walks the earth, and it is not fit that mortal should wed with elfkin. Yet we have some part in that kinship, said Aragorn, if the tale of my forefathers is true that I have learned. It is true, said Gilrahan, but that was long ago in another age of this world, before our race was diminished. Therefore I am afraid, for without the good will of Master Elrond, the heirs of Isildur will soon come to an end. But I do not think that you will have the good will of Elrond in this matter. Then bitter will my days be, and I will walk in the wild alone, said Aragorn. That will indeed be your fate, said Gilrahan. But though she had in a measure the foresight of her people, she said no more to him of her foreboding, nor did she speak to any one of what her son had told her. But Elrond saw many things and read many hearts. One day, therefore, before the fall of the year, he called Aragorn to his chamber, and he said, Aragorn, Arathorn's son, Lord of the Dunedain, listen to me. A great doom awaits you. either to rise above the height of all your fathers since the days of Elendil, or to fall into darkness with all that is left of your kin. Many years of trial lie before you. You shall neither have wife nor bind any woman to you in troth, until your time comes and you are found worthy of it." Then Aragorn was deeply troubled. He said, "Can it be that my mother has spoken of this?" "No, indeed," said Elrond. "Your eyes have betrayed you. But I do not speak of my daughter alone. You shall be betrothed to no man's child as of yet. But as for Arwen the Fair, Lady of Imladris and of Lorien, even star of her people, she is of lineage greater than yours, and she has lived in this world already so long enough to her that you are but a yearling shoot beside a young birch of many summers. She is too far above you, and so I think it may well seem to her. But even if it were not so, and her heart turned toward you, I should still be grieved because of the doom that is laid on us." "What is that doom?" said Aragorn. "That so long as I abide here, she shall live with the youth of the Eldar," answered Elrond. "And when I depart, she shall go with me, if she so chooses." "I see," said Aragorn, "that I have turned my eyes to a treasure no less dear than the treasure of Thingol that Beren once desired. Such is my fate." Then suddenly the foresight of his kindred came to him, and he said, "But lo, Master Elrond, the years of your abiding run short at last, and the choice must soon be laid on your children, to part either with you or with Middle-earth." "Truly," said Elrond, "soon as we account it, though many years of men must still pass. But there will be no choice before Arwen, my beloved, unless you, Aragorn, Arathorn's son, come between us and bring one of us, you or me, to a bitter parting beyond the end of the world. You do not know yet what you desire of me." He sighed, and after a while, looking gravely upon the young man, he said again, "Their years will bring what they will. We will speak no more of this until many have passed. The days darken and much evil is to come." Man, this is deeper than I remember, or saying it out loud, man, it's something else. Alright, let's go. Then Aragorn took leave lovingly of Elrond, and the next day he said farewell to his mother and to the house of Elrond and to Arwen, and he went out into the wild. Hold on, I got burp. Okay, let's go. For nearly 30 years he labored in the cause against Sauron, and he became a friend of Gandalf the Wise, for whom he gained much wisdom. With him he made many perilous journeys, but as the years wore on, he went more often alone. His ways were hard and long, and he became somewhat grim to look upon, unless he chanced to smile. And yet he seemed a man worthy of honor as a king that is in exile, when he did not hide his true shape. For he went in many guises, one renown under many names. He rode in the host of the Rohirrim, and fought for the Lord of Gondor by land and by sea. And then in the hour of victory he passed out of knowledge of men of the west, and went alone far into the east and deep into the south, exploring the hearts of men, both good and evil, and uncovering the plots and devices of the servants of Sauron. Thus he became at last the most hardy of living men, skilled in their crafts and lore, and was yet more than they, for he was elven wise, and there was a light in his eyes that when they were kindled few could ever endure. His face was sad and stern because of the doom that was laid upon him, and yet hope dwelt even in the depths of his heart, from which mirth would arise at times like a spring from the rock. Man, just reading that, I was having I probably shouldn't be saying in the middle of this passage, but I feel so dumb and immature for some Instagram posts I made. I'm not sure which to filter out, so I'm just going to make them all private. You know, if I feel underrated, if I feel like this world's not good enough for me, that's fine. I mean, somebody eventually along the line, I feel like if anything is possible, if I just plug and chug, be social enough, go to these cleanup events, go to speak up at these events, you don't know what will happen, right? They might expect me to have cards, they might expect me to always be on my A game and to pick up hints, but I can't pick up hints, you know? So, DMs are open. I've said that plenty of time. I'm not going to worry about worrying. I'm just going to live my life. I don't know why I'm fretting. On my last week at my county job, I'm fretting about these social media posts. Alright, let me put these all, hide them from all. Not that I have anything to hide. I'm saving it for my future self. I have much to process, much to heal in the future. And I know I will recover. I will be adaptable. I will not be bitter against the universe as easy and straightforward and simple as it seems. Alright, let's go. You know what? No matter what, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of myself. I'm growing. I know it's not easy. But I'm not going to blame myself for staying at this job for far too long. Even though it seems abundantly clear as day. Right? Because I was just about to put on my 2 weeks. I'm sure Eric Long probably saw it. And spoiled milk at this moment. I'm sure he probably wanted to speak to me about something. Either that or yelling in the truck or time management at the end of the day or something. But he didn't bring it up. And then, of course, the S show with... But again, that was just the final straw. And I was already beyond caring. I already knew that one more major blow and that's the end of it. And, I mean, I'm going to process it later. But but ultimately, the biggest nail in the final coffin, the shipping, was when I was leaving work, which you should be relaxed. You should be super chill come Friday. Yeah, I don't expect coworkers to understand. I don't expect family to understand. But I spoke for 13 minutes straight, and I was talking perfect sense. 13 minutes about how much I hate my job. Even if, and you know, I am still logical, even with some emotional stuff. Right? Because if it was just simple, you know, I could probably list out for 2 hours straight the minor stuff. But you know, the minor stuff and the major stuff, and ultimately I just don't trust and respect management. And if you're not trusting and respecting your leadership, you're always going to be on edge. But anyways, that's just enough. And there's more than that to it than that. And again, I might, for a time, trust nobody, no superiors. But you know, if it is superior, if it's great leadership, it shouldn't feel like leadership. It should be, okay, let me help you. Let me help you do your job. Not, you must do this, you must do that. Oh my goodness, what are you, like, again, because middle management should be helping me, not hindering me. And it was definitely hindering me. How are you not going to lose sleep? I was losing so much sleep. I was waking up consistently at 3 p.m. My only sleep for several hours was in the evening when I would collapse. And then come to find out, well after I put in my 2 weeks, that the main superintendent, he's having crazy mind. He even said it himself. And I know he looks up to the fear-based management that keep your workers in control. And it probably is coming from the higher-ups in the county. You know Hillsborough County does not have a great track record from the higher-ups. But anyways, it's all water under the bridge at this point. I'll live. I'll survive. I'll find something. Okay. Let's finish this out. Strong. Hope too. Alright. Where was I? Spring like a rock. It came to pass that when Aragorn was 9 and 40 years of age, he returned from the perils on the dark confines of Mordor, when Sauron now dwelt again and was busy with evil. He was weary, and he wished to go back to Rivendell and rest there for a while ere he journeyed into the far countries. And on his way he came to the borders of Lorien, and was admitted to the hidden land by the Lady Galadriel. He did not know it, but Arwen Udamil was also there, dwelling again for a time with the kin of her mother. She was little changed, for the mortal years had passed her by, yet her face was more grave, and her laughter now seldom was heard. But Aragorn was grown to full stature of body and mind, and Galadriel bade him cast aside his way-torn raiment, and she clothed him in silver and white, with a cloak of elven grey and bright gem on his brow. Then more than any kind of men he appeared, and seemed rather an elf lord from the Isles of the West. And thus it was that Arwen first beheld him again after their long parting. And as he came walking toward her under the trees of Cares Gladhorn, laden with flowers of gold, her choice was made and her doom appointed. You think if it was really realistic, it'd be something he said. Anyways, I'm just going to go along with whatever Tolkien wants to believe. All right. Then for a season, I mean, it's probably like 20-80, right? Maybe 20% women are attracted to visual. Anyways, let's go. Then for a season they wandered together in the glades of Lothlorien until it was time for him to depart. And on the evening of midsummer, Aragorn, Arathorn's son, and Arwen, daughter of Elrond, went to the fair hill Seren Amroth in the midst of the land, and they walked unshod on the undying grass with Elenor and Numprendil about their feet. And there upon the hill they looked east to the shadow and west to the twilight, and they plighted their troth and were glad. And Arwen said, "Dark is the shadow, and yet my heart rejoices for you, Estil shall be among the great, whose valor will destroy it." But Aragorn answered, "Alas, I cannot foresee it, and how it may come to pass is hidden from me. Yet with your hope I will hope, and the shadow I utterly reject. But neither, lady, is the twilight for me, for I, a mortal, and if you will cleave to me, even star, then the twilight you must also renounce." Unfortunately, it sounds like he, it's like, don't follow me. Why would you, that humility, man. That's what true men do. And she stood then as still as a white tree, looking into the west, and at last she said, "I will cleave to you, Dunedain," and turned from the twilight. Yet there lies the land of my people and the long home of all my kin. She loved her father dearly. When Elrond learned of the choice of his daughter, he was silent, though his heart was grieved, and found the doom long feared none the easier to endure. But then Aragorn came again to Rivendell. He called him to him, and he said, "My son, years come when hope will fade, and beyond them little is clear to me." Excuse me. "And now a shadow lies between us. Maybe it has been appointed so, that by loss and kinship, maybe it has been appointed so that by my loss the kingship of men may be restored. Therefore, though I love you, I say to you, Arwen Udamil shall not diminish her life's grace for less cause. She shall not be the bride of any man less than the king of both Gondor and Arnor. To me, then even our victory can bring only sorrow and parting. But to you, hope of joy for a while. Alas, my son, I fear that to Arwen the doom of men shall seem hard at the ending." Man, way to be buzzkill Elrond. Anyways, it's either live forever and be miserable, or live for a time happily, maybe, and die. Like, come on, Elrond. Alright, anyways. So it stood afterwards between Elrond and Aragorn, and they spoke no more of this matter. But Aragorn went forth again to danger and toil, and while the world darkened and fear fell upon Middle-earth, as the power of Sauron grew, and Barad-dûr rose ever taller and stronger, Arwen remained in Rivendell. And when When Aragorn was abroad, from afar she watched over him in thought, and in hope she made for him a great and kingly standard, such as only one might display who claimed the lordship of the Númenóreans and the inheritance of Elendil. Elves weren't good enough for her. Must have been really uptight and racist. If the Hobbit trilogy taught us anything. Okay, anyways. After a few years, Gilrahan took leave of Elrond and returned to her own people in Eredor, and lived alone. But you know, in real life, women fall for losers all the time. Anyways, that's water under the bridge. I'm here for a good time, not for a long time, baby. Okay. If only Aragorn said that. But he probably did. Alright. Anyways. After a few years, Gilrahan took leave of Elrond and returned to her own people in Eredor, and lived alone, and she seldom saw her son again, for he spent many years in far countries. But on a time when Aragorn had returned to the north, he came to her, and she said to him before he went, "This is our last parting, Estil, my son. I am aged by care, even as one of lesser men, and now that it draws near, I cannot face the darkness of our own time that gathers upon Middle-earth. I shall leave it soon." Aragorn tried to comfort her, saying, "Yet there may be a light beyond the darkness, and if so, I would have you see it and be glad." But she answered only in the Limnod. That's Elvish. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Just imagine I'm saying something fancy and Elvish. And Aragorn went away heavy of heart. Gilrahan died before the next spring. You think Tolkien would say that for... oh yeah, she just died before the next spring. You'd think he'd be more poetic with that, but anyways. You know, he didn't like talking about death and war and stuff like that. Anyways, okay. Thus the years drew many long years drew on to the War of the Ring, of which more is told elsewhere. How the means unforeseen was revealed whereby Sauron might be overthrown, and how hope beyond hope was inevitably eventually fulfilled. This is not the best writing. I'm adding some adjectives and verbs. Okay. And it came to pass that in the hour of defeat, Aragorn came up from the sea and unfurled the standard of Arwen in the battle of the fields of Pelennor. And in that day he was first hailed as king. And at last, when all was done, he entered into the inheritance of his fathers and received the crown of Gondor and the scepter of Arnor. And at midsummer, in the year of the fall of Sauron, he took the hand of Arwen Udamil, and they were wedded in the city of the kings. You know, ultimately, though I feel my lineage is stronger than most, I know I'm lesser of some of my family. I know that I shouldn't say stuff like that. But you think back to the tennis days. Again, strength of character is not everything. Strength of body is not everything. Maybe I've given more logical resilience and stuff like that. Knowledge for sure. Know-how. Resilience, strategy, etc. Not perfect. I don't know, I just hope I'm cool with my family in the years to come, but we'll see. I'm pretty adaptable. Again, I'm kind of imagining if this was somebody listening to me, like say, "Oh wow, this guy is definitely a Gryffindor. He would definitely be a great king." And maybe, I don't know. You really don't know. Like, I thought I'd be a great coach until I actually tried coaching, and it's much harder than it looks or seems. Because a lot of stuff is out of your control. As with middle management, as with upper management, it's so hard not to be fear-based, but be more trust-based. You want things to be in your control, but ultimately you win over trust and quality by being trusting, right? Okay, but it's so clear as day as a worker. I know it's much harder when you're actually in management. I probably could never do that because I get angry and take control, stuff like that. Unless I absolutely had to in order to eat, and even then, there's fates worse than death. Okay, anyways, let's finish this out. I only have like a few more pages. Yeah, like 1.5 more pages. Okay, let's go. Good stuff. Okay. All right. The third age ended thus in victory and hope, and yet grievous among the sorrows of that age was the parting of Elrond and Arwen, for they were sundered by the sea and by a doom beyond the end of the world. When the great ring was unmade, and the three were shorn of their power, then Elrond grew weary at last, and forsook Middle-earth, never to return. But Arwen became as a mortal woman, and yet it was not her lot to die until all that she had gained was lost. As queen of elves and men, she dwelt with Aragorn for 60 years in great glory and bliss. Yet at last he felt, you think it'd be more than one sentence, and you can definitely tell Tolkien was hastily writing this at night. Anyways, alright, let's go. Yet, I'm just going to pretend like it's a separate sentence. There's a semicolon. It should be a separate sentence, or separate paragraph. Anyways, let's go. Yet, finally, eventually, after many happy years, at last, he felt the approach of old age and knew that the span of his life days were drawing to an end, long though it had been. Then Aragorn said to Arwen, "At last, Lady Evenstar, fairest in this world, and most beloved, my world is fading. Lo, we have gathered, and we have spent, and now the time of payment draws near." Arwen knew well what he intended, and long had foreseen it. Nonetheless, she was overborne by her grief. "When then, my lord, before your time leave your people that live by your word?" she said. "Not before my time," he answered. "For if I will not go now, then I must soon go perforce. And Eldarion, our son, is a man full ripe for kingship." Then going to the house of the kings and the silent street, Aragorn laid him down on the long bed that had been prepared for him. There he said farewell to Eldarion, and gave into his hands the winged crown of Gondor and the scepter of Ardor. And then all left him save Arwen, and she stood alone by his bed, and for all her wisdom and lineage she could not forbear to plead with him to stay yet for a while. She was not yet weary of her days, and thus she tasted the bitterness of the mortality that she had taken upon herself. "Lady Udamil," said Aragorn. See, why is he talking about death so long and so much? Like, it's sad. Why don't we talk about the glory days a little bit more? Anyways, I know it's poetic, I know it's super sweet and stuff, and Tolkien probably had a depressing life of much ridicule, and he got hard over these tragedies and stuff. Anyways, let's just finish this out. Let's not try to critique it. Okay. "Lady Udamil," said Aragorn, "the hour is indeed hard, yet it has made, even in that day when we met under the white birches in the garden of Elrond, where none now walk, and on the hills of Shirin and Roth, where we forsook both the shadow and the twilight, this doom we accepted. Take counsel with yourself, beloved, and ask whether you would indeed have me wait until I wither and fall from my highest seat unmanned and witless. Nay, lady, I am last of the Númenóreans, and the latest king of the elder days, and to me has been given not only a span thrice that of men of Middle-earth, but also the grace to go at my own will, and to give back the gift. Now, therefore, I shall sleep. I speak no comfort to you, for there is no comfort for such pain within the circles of the world. The uttermost choice is before you, to repent and to go to the heavens, and bear away into the west the memory of our days together, that shall there be evergreen, but never more than memory, or else to abide by the doom of men." "Nay, dear lord," she said, "that choice is long over. There is now no ship that would bear me hence, and I must indeed abide the doom of men, Whether I will or I nill, the loss and the silence. But I say to you, King of the Numenorians, not till now have I understood the tale of your people and their fall. As wicked fools, It's almost done. Alright. I scorned them, but I pity them at last. For if this is indeed, as the elders say, the gift of the one to men, it is bitter to receive. So it seems, he said, but let us not be overthrown at the final test, whose old renown the shadow of the ring. In sorrow we must go, but not in despair. Behold, we are not bound forever to the circles of the world, and beyond them is more than memory. In sorrow we must go, but not in despair. Behold, we are not bound forever to the circles of this world, and beyond them is more than memory. Farewell. Estelle, Estelle, she cried, and with that, even as he took her hand and kissed it, he fell into deep sleep. Then a great beauty was revealed in him, so that all who after came there looked upon him in wonder, for they saw that the grace of his youth, and the valor of his manhood, and the wisdom and the majesty of his age were blended together. Okay, that's a great line by Tolkien. And long there he lay, an image of the splendor of the kings of men, in glory undimmed before the breaking of the world. But, as fate would have it, Arwen went forth from the house, and the light of her eyes dimmed and was quenched, and it seemed to her people that she had become cold and gray as nightfall in winter that comes without a star. Then she said farewell to Arthurian and to her daughters and to all whom she had loved, and she went out from the city of Minas Tirith and passed away to the land of Lorien and dwelt there alone under the fading trees until winter came. Galadriel had passed away, and Celeborn also was gone, and the land was indeed silent. There at last, when the Malorn leaves were falling, but spring had not yet come, she laid herself to rest upon Siren Amroth, and there is her green grave, until the world is changed, and the days of her life are utterly forgotten by men that come after, and Eleanor and Nifredil bloom no more east of the sea. Here ends this tale, as it has come to us from the south, and with the passing of Evenstar, no more is said in this book of the days of old. That's a deep one. I could try to interpret it, but it kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it? The coming of age, the bitterness of mortality, of change, of grief, of stuff that's out of your control, that's inevitable, especially in the Anthropocene. You know, the threats are everywhere. Even if all plastic ended, there's plenty of plastic still out there. Even if all water withdrawals and all nitrogen producing cease, there's already so much out there. So, no, I'm going to rest, man. I deserve rest. No matter who texts me or not, I don't really care. I'm just in survival mode for the rest of the week. That was good, though. That was real good. To the point, like, if somebody was listening, should I even post this? But I know not to worry about this. I didn't expect this to go on for 40 minutes. It doesn't surprise me that it did. It does, or it did. And you know what? You know, I don't have to explain this. That a life with living, with love, with suffering, because we can't have joy without suffering, right? If we only had joy, if we only had drugs and highs, then we just have to chase higher and higher peaks. There has to be suffering, otherwise the plateau just keeps going up. Spoiled kids never feel good because they don't have any suffering, they don't have any contrast, and it feels like common sense when you've truly lived. And that's all I have to say, man. It's time for me to sleep. Time for me to save my resilience. These 2 or 3 days may be some of the longest of my life. But this has given me hope. This has given me, along with the audio I already foretold. It's getting into my speech, right? For it was already foretold by me, right? Yeah, man, I feel good. I feel exhausted. I feel good. I feel every kind of emotions. There will be a time for rest and recovery and pondering and processing, but it is not this day. And that's all I have to say about that. Amen. Let's go. Oh man, that was a good one. Let's go.